I'll, Hi, Meena. Thank you for today's session, for agreeing to be part of today's session. And I'm really excited to have you on the show. And today we are going to discuss about multiple intelligence in children. While I was growing up, I don't feel that I ever thought of having multiple intelligence. It is more about reading, writing. Max, it was sports and dance, but that was so limited because schools would not give marks for sports and dance. It was mostly about grades. And now, to just start with this, if you can give a context about what does it mean to have multiple intelligence with respect to children's development and why it is so critical in today's world.
Namaste. Thank you, Namrata. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share about this. So I'm really excited about this topic. Whenever I talk about this, I just love to do or, even make children work in this area. So multiple intelligence is a concept given by Howard Gardner. He is a psychologist and a professor of education at Harvard University. And it's like, intelligence is always told that if you have very good IQ, if you score better marks, then it is intelligent. And it is fixed only to the IQ, nothing beyond. So, but it is not that. Gardner told about seven different intelligences. Later, two more were added. The first and foremost is the linguistic intelligence. In this linguistic intelligence, the person, it is not only confined to children alone, all of them have multiple intelligences. But in the context of children, we are just looking today in detail. Linguistic intelligence is where the child has the ability to use the language, comprehend, and even express, because that is very important. So this is linguistic intelligence. It can be any language. It is not again confined only to English. Some children are very good in their regional languages or different languages that they learn. And we also see people picking up languages, children picking up different languages very easily. That is how we can identify that they are linguistic intelligent. Number two is logical, mathematical. So logical is where children give reason. They have good ability of reasoning, thinking, analyzing, and anything that is related to mathematics and scientific approach, scientific thinking. This is called as logical and mathematicals. Again, when it comes to grammar, especially in Sanskrit, when you see the Panini grammar, the way it has to be learned, and the calculations, everything, when you look at it, is not again, confined to a particular language, because Sanskrit also has vast um, wisdom and, learnings where this mathematical aspect, logical aspect is also there. Tarkashastra is the logical part. Then coming to the spatial intelligence, this is called as visual spatial also, because when you see a child or when you interact with a child, you say something, they can visualize, they have good imagination, they beautify that, and they are able to bring it into the picture as also. So this is called as visual spatial intelligence. They have that ability to grasp, and even if a person has or a child has the ability to admire the beauty of the nature, or the visualized images, then that is also called as spatial intelligence. Then coming to music, we have seen many children, they just catch the rhythm so beautifully. They are able to sing, compose, and even appreciate that. That is very important. So this is called as musical intelligence. And then coming to bodily kinesthetic, if you see, Many children, they can't sit in one place. They just want to do something, that physical activity, what they love to do. They want to move, they want to go explore. So this is called as bodily kinesthetic. They are very skillful. You tell them something, they are able to do it in no time. So, they use their hands, legs, movement. So this is called as bodily kinesthetic. And the next is interpersonal intelligence. Some children are very good. They know how to negotiate, they know how to interact, and they are group for performers and at the same time group leaders also. So this is called as interpersonal intelligence. The next is the intrapersonal intelligence. When you see some children, they're always to themselves. They enjoy that loneliness. They want to do on their own. They don't want assistance. They don't want anybody's interference. So they're able to, they are self motivated kind, and they have their own feelings. They have the targets to achieve, and they do it themselves. That is called as intrapersonal. And the other two, what later it was added, was one is naturalistic intelligence. You know, they love the nature, being with animals, being with birds, being with the creatures in the nature, always going for a walk, exploring in the nature is naturalistic. And some children love gardening, farming kind of things. They want to go and play in the mud, soil. So this is naturalistic intelligence. And existential intelligence is generally, this is kept aside. Only till naturalistic intelligence it is looked on. Existential is where they start questioning about how is this created? How did I get into the womb of the mother? How did I come? Was I there earlier also? So these kind of questions children ask. So that is existential intelligence. Yeah.
Nicely explained, Meena, to nine intelligence, and the spectrum is so wide. Probably it covers more than any school would have taught to 90s kids like me. And there is so
Of course,
many
even
things.
me as well, Yeah.
Yeah, because and I feel the academics that you and I grew up with, it had a lot of limitation. I think probably it was limited to linguistic, read, write, speak languages, and also those particular languages that you learn. Because my
Yeah.
mother tongue was never taught in school, and I
Okay.
just picked up, like you said, I picked up because in family the conversation were in that language.
And
And
mathematical and logical, that is one, especially mathematical. These are the only two areas which are looked in the school.
yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And now there are seven more. And thanks for enlightening me and everybody who is watching this. So, Meena, now
Your
as a,
voice is low. Your voice is
my voice is it good now? Hello?
low.
Or do you want me to talk little louder?
Little louder.
Okay, okay, I'll be little louder. Uh, Now we know that there are total nine intelligence. The spectrum is in our knowing. So if anybody has to identify intelligence, which is natural intelligence in that particular child, and to nurture that intelligence, how can parent know about this?
Basically, is observation. First thing is observe the child. Because today's world, no time to observe what the child is doing. Either the child is taken care by the caretaker or left in creche or, play homes. And but when we observe the child, we will be able to know the strength of the child and the preferences of the child. And that will help us to engage them in those activities or the subjects that they have preference. To give one or two examples, like, when you observe the child who is always kinesthetic, always want to move around. For this, the example I would like to give is my son was more a kinesthetic. He wanted to go explore and kind of. And most of the children are like that. It's not just my son. And they are visual also. They want that color. That is the reason why, the sensorial period, they call it a sensorial period in the early stages, 0 to 6. Within that, the sensorial period, all the senses are, they want to see, they want to experience through their senses. So eyes are one of the senses wherein, they want to see the visual things. They love those colors. They take out all the objects that are more colorful. They play with that. So that is the way where we can observe. And you can also see the child has a rhythm, is able to catch the language fast, or is the child able to catch the music fast. If we observe based on all this, just keeping this in mind, you can easily identify what are the areas the child has a preference and the strength. Next is communicating with the child. When the child is able to communicate, have open ended questions and topics that interest them, when we start interacting with them, we can understand what they prefer and what they are able to learn and how they are expressing. This is number two. That is, one is observation, communication is second, and diverse learning opportunities. Give them all different exposure at an early stage. That is what is recommended. That's why if you see the Montessori system, the setup, all types are there for the child to go and have the experience of learning. It can be movement related, musical, visual, and hands-on activities. So this, through this, one can identify and also nurture.
Nicely explained, Meena. So, if you can share some practical strategies that would help a parent or an educator to identify and enhance particular intelligence in the children, or maybe some level of intelligence is not directly visible, but if that intelligence needs to be enhanced, so what actions can be taken?
One is the exposure, as I said earlier also. It is the exposure to children for various things. See, if they're always made to sit and write, sit and read, then we will not know what the child, what other intelligences the child has. So it is the exposure which is very important. Encourage them to take up different activities. Most of the time, I remember, when the child gets into doing something, some kitchen work or want to help something, say, don't do this, you will spill, you will do that, you will do this will get spoiled. All these kind of comments, what we give children, definitely demotivates, and we will also not be able to observe or, get to know what they have. So the practical strategies are, when give them the different, you give them some music related activities, take them to the group, and give them the exposure of social interactions, taking them to different science exhibition or experiment related. I see, I'm since I stay in Bangalore, there's this Chitrakala Parishad conducts Chitra Sante, first Sunday of Jan every year. So you see, children should be taken there and exposed to. You don't know, the child may have the ability to do the drawing, or just gets motivated or sees that and picks. For this, the example that I would like to give is, uh, when I was in a school where I was working, there was this child named Bhairavi. She was in grade 8. So all the narration was done, how the chart should be done, what the visual, how it should look. It was orally communicated. And the child did beautifully. Whatever the imagination that I had in my mind, the child could bring it out onto the paper. So if these kind of, just a small interactions, sharing with them, asking them to write, asking them to present, asking them to talk about, asking them to do something, this will give us a clarity on how to work. And then next is create a supportive environment, because if there is something that they need to experience, do it. The environment should be set. As I told earlier, if you say no, no, no to everything, then the practical experience cannot be experienced by the child, and the parent will also not be knowing it. And having a collaborative activities and group activities, when any activity, I think in the school, even you would have also experienced during your school days, if an activity is given as a group, some will choose some part of it. If there is a chart making and a presentation, some would love to get all the materials. They are of that kind, more kinesthetic kind. They want to go get all whatever is required. Some are very good in art, doing the writing, drawing stuff. Some are very good at writing creatively the content. Some are very good at presenting. So it is a collaborative work that they do. And most of the time nowadays, it is the collaborative work which is very predominant in many areas. So that kind of exposure to be given, and group activities. It is very difficult to teach one child.
Yes.
I remember one of the trainer had come few years back. He said he would gather all the children together, and instead of teaching only their child, the activities were taught in the group so that the child also learned. The same thing I also did before this. Like, I used to gather all the children, make them sit together. And since I wanted to teach Bhagavad Gita to my son, I wanted him to practice. I would create an environment so that all the children together they come. If we alone has to learn, it doesn't motivate. If other children are there, they naturally pick up, and because there is a group, they would love to do it in group. So these are the strategies what can be looked at.
Thank you so much for sharing this, Meena, because you transported me to my childhood days. So, just to tell you a little, I brought up in a joint family,
Mm,
and as a ritual, every Saturday, all the
mm,
kids of the family would gather, and my granny, she would teach us
mm.
shlokas. And
Wonderful.
that was every Saturday noon activity. And now I realize that the power of that joint family, or the 1 hour religious session or spiritual session that you see, it has lot of impact on me. While I was growing up, I never realized it. But since this is one of the intelligence and one of the way of learning, it
Yes,
really
definitely.
feels that, yeah, something that I've done right.
Lovely.
Thank you. Okay. So, how does a parent identify what is the predominant intelligence of the child? Because you work on your strengths that will make you grow much faster compared to working on your weakness. So taking it to the kids, and if it's easy to identify the predominant strength, which will make them grow much faster. So how can parent or an educator do this?
Simple thing is, now the technology, everything is available. There are tools and sheets that talk about the intelligences, different, to identify the predominant intelligence, because today's world, I'm just giving this as a supplement, but actually doing is in a different way. It is for a parent to identify, or for the educator to identify. There are the tests, assessment tests. The sheets are available in net, age wise, all this they can look into. And you see, you observe every child. Since this is a sheet where you can start taking and giving pointers, out of 1 to 5 scale, put the numbers, and then you check the total so that you get to know what. This is one way of assessing or knowing about the child. You will know where the which is predominant. Based on that, you can also observe. which is predominant. You would have, many parents, they would have observed, my child, always loves to only be with the books. There are some parents who say that, doesn't go out, doesn't play. So that is where, you can understand what kind of intelligence, if they have minimum knowledge about all the intelligence. So the next aspect is teaching styles vary from teacher to teacher. Some do it with the demonstration, some do it in a lecture method. I think we all have experienced that during our school days, and of course while teaching. And some give an experiential learning. They take them out, they make them experience all that. So this, like how the teaching style vary from person, teacher to teacher, educator to educator. Same way, learning style also varies. At least to put it into four different categories, it is called as VAR. Nowadays, it is also VAR, they say. R is removed, but in the school system, we say it as VAR. One is visual, A is auditory, R is read and write, K is kinesthetic. So here, when we see visual learners, you show them some PPTs or some pictures, some models that is there in their mind. They pick up like anything. And some children are auditory learners. You see them; they're busy doing something in the class. This I have experience of that. The children are busy doing something, but when you ask the question, immediately they're able to answer. That means they are auditory learners. They may not look into the eyes of the teacher, but they can learn. And next is read and write. As I told earlier, some are always into books. They don't feel like, they don't want. They read this. I understood. I don't need to listen to the teacher, or I don't need any images or models or anything. That kind of learners are also there. K is kinesthetic, hands-on. They want to do hands-on and then learn. These are experiential learners. They want to apply that and then learn. So this customizing the teaching methods, you have to observe as educators when we know that at least basically these four varieties are there. Our teaching should be designed in such a way that visual part is also there in that particular learning process. Auditory is also there. Read and write is there, and the kinesthetic activities are there. Next is the individualized project. Here, if they have that individual kind, so that they learn to showcase their strengths and interests. So this aspect also to be included. And assessment, you and me know very well, in our school days, the assessment was unit tests or some weekly tests and midterm exams and final exams. And most of the schools even today follow this, unfortunately. And in many schools, they follow this formative assessment, they call it. They give some grades. Maybe it is assessed, or maybe for various reasons, it is not assessed also. The formative assessment, what even NEP, NCF talks about, is look into all the various areas, all this seven different, eight different intelligences, and based on that, identify and give them the tasks or assess them based on that. So the different intelligences are touched, and it is not just the traditional method of or the conventional method of testing a child only in the writing. Yeah.
Very nicely explained, Meena. I am loving the conversation that we are having and the depth at which you are explaining. It's really, really helpful.
Thank you so much.
I remember during my school days, I was being told that I can never sing because my voice is not melodious. That means I do not have capability to listen to that music, the minute level that was required, and so I cannot be a good singer. So, are there any such common myths that a particular child cannot have any multiple intelligence, or any specific intelligence is only reserved for specific category of kids? Or if you can just dispel such myths, if at all they are existing.
So it is like, intelligence is considered, even today, many parents, they are more concerned about their academic performance of the child. My child is not reading. I'm a book writing coach for children. So the complaints are, will you teach grammar? Will you teach spellings? They want them to only excel in writing and reading. So the intelligence is also considered based on the whatever the kind of IQ that is measured. It is only write and read is what the IQ that is measured. And this single definition of intelligence is the misconception. That is one. Second is fixed intelligence. Intelligence is considered as it is fixed. If this person is intelligent, intelligent. If this person is not intelligent, then it is, this child is not intelligent, then he can never be intelligent. This is a myth. This is a wrong misconception, because any time it can change. Any time anybody can pick up with the challenges that are given to them will definitely make them. You see, you give them a treasure hunt or something, they somehow make it and they find it, isn't it? That is the kind of activities for learning. A challenging activity should be there, which will help them to, grow their intelligence. And next, this definitely intelligence can be enhanced because it is a learnable. It is all the way that is being fed into the mind. You are not intelligent. You are not good at this. You are not that. This, all these thought process or the words or the communication that make them believe, and so for which they remain as not being intelligent. That is, and it manifests in a different various forms over a time, because the intelligence is like, uh, it can take shape and it can come into the expression form, because it can be developed, because it is a multifaceted. So it is diverse, and any individual can grow this over a period of time. It is not like, once you become an adult, you can't uh, expand or grow your intelligence. It's not like that. Many a times I think now, uh, my learning is still going on. I'm under, trained under various mentors, and I'm learning, and it's a new skill what I'm acquiring. And it's a new, it's a part of all those seven, eight intelligence. So it is, the myth is IQ, and saying that it is fixed, nobody can become intelligent over a period of time or what.
Thank you for shedding the myths around intelligence. Meena, I would just add one point. Somewhere I had read that Leonardo Vinci, whom we know like one of the person
Yeah.
who had multiple intelligence, he started learning Latin at the age of 44. And post that, most of the discoveries for which we know him became much more famous, because there was this language barrier that he was facing. And I think this aspect of acquiring education at a later age of life is something that not many people are aware. We just know about acquiring education during our early growing days. And you rightly bought in that concept.
Because you see in various areas, when I was doing my master's, there was a 75-year-old man in the class sitting and learning the education aspects. And various examples are there. I mean, because when I give the example which I have experienced, it makes more sense. So like that, you can always learn and you can expand your intelligence. It's nowhere like it is done and over. Yeah.
Agree. Uh, I would say during my school days, Amina, I used to get fascinated by the teacher who would teach and the way she would teach. Okay. So history was probably the dull subject for me during school days. But today I'm fascinated by history because I see movies around history and
Hmm.
way entire thing was structured in that era and how people would still achieve victory. And this makes me realize that the environment in which I was learning particular thing was much more important for me to get attached to that topic or for me to even grasp that concept very fast. So I would like to have your thoughts on what is the importance of positive environment in our learning journey.
I would also like to give an example. When I was in grade 9, my Kannada teacher would sit on a stool which is the painters use. You've
Hmm.
seen that metal steel, that kind of chair. He would sit 110 students in a class. And that was the time where TVs were not so common in all the houses. We had to, even to watch Ramayana or Mahabharat, you have to run to some place and go to somebody's house and watch. So this documentary, the temple architecture that my teacher explained, I could visualize that. After few days, when I saw the documentary of that in the TV, whatever I visualized was the same that I could see on the in the documentary. I felt so happy. I thanked him. Even today, I remember the way his narration and explanation or the description of that temple was. He would say that aerial view. You see from Vaiman, he used to use it was a Kannada class, so he used the term and he said that if you see from the top the aerial view, the way it looks, the star structured temple, all that whatever he said, and when I saw that, I really just fell in love with his teaching, and I felt that if you become a teacher, it should you should become like this. That is what the thought that came into my mind. So the positive learning environment, it should be created like that, and it should be diverse also. Like you should have variety, like Montessori system has a lot of materials. You see, you have there are different corners for everything. Nowadays, most of the schools have started that kind of system. So that the child goes to language corner, the child goes to music corner, and some activity oriented corner kind. So this is the kind of environment that should be created. One, this is the outer structure. What need to be developed, and different materials, diverse resources should be there for them to explore with, and the positive environment, always acknowledging and appreciating the uniqueness of each and every child. The strength of every child is very important, and celebrate that. Most of the time, if the child writes something, drawing, it's good, okay, okay, okay. I've done that as a parent. My son said, Ma, even if I get 80 marks, 90 marks, whatever, you are not, celebrating it. I got that. We get lost in other aspects than recognizing it and appreciating that. So, that positive reinforcement is very important. You appreciate them, you say, hey, you have done a good job. You would have appreciated many times. But that one time remains in their mind forever. So they come to a conclusion, children come to a conclusion, whatever I do, my mother is not happy, my father is not happy, my teacher is not happy. So when this kind of environment is created, that thought process is in their mind. They never feel like coming and showing also. So that is the reason why positive environment consciously, of course, when we do such mistakes, it is at least better to go and say sorry, admit it, and say, yeah, I was in some mode, I missed it, I'm extremely sorry. Maybe that will bring a change. Children will also start understanding it. And the next aspect is being flexible. It's not like, all the time you should complete this assignment in this format only. I remember the answers are to be in these many words. Of course, some exams expect 150 words, 170, 200 words, 500 words, whatever be it. But as given in the notes, it has to be written. That is the kind of expectations are there even today. It has to be written. One reason teachers, if the same answer is written, it is easy for them to correct. Because I was also in the teaching line. I can understand the difficulty or the challenge of the teacher, but the creativity of the child is lost when you expect them to just write verbatim as it is. So that is not the way. And assessment also can be according to the learning style of the child. See, if I have taught a poem, or if I've taught a story, or if I've taught some mathematical problem, should it be the same way? It can be in different forms. You can ask children to present the vocabulary. Do they have to say the spelling, or do they have to do the dictation? Or can it be given in a crossword form? Assessment can be, because the children love to do it in a different form rather than that same, fill in the blanks, match the following, question answers, one word answer, three-word answer, I mean, one sentence, paragraph. This doesn't motivate them. And instead, this is only the written format. What about other aspects? Are they assessed bodily kinesthetic? No. Some concepts, some components of intelligence can be brought in. Not that every subject or every language can be brought with all these intelligences. But at least we can cater to some, as I told, work, VARK. At least these elements are there. It helps children to present whatever their learnings are. So it's the flexibility of having a different styles, catering to the learning styles of different children is important. So diverse resources should be there. Positive reinforcement, how we communicate, how we appreciate, and all that. And then it is the flexibility of assessment and assignments, especially homeworks, pathetic. Most of the time it is the same thing that they have to write. If the same thing is given in a different format, children would love it. Yeah.
I really agree, Meena. Different format, because I remember once during my school days, I was given a punishment to write 100 times, I will not talk in class. And it had no impact. I would have written it 100 times, but next day I was as talkative as I was previous day. So yes, homework, definitely I agree. The way I used to do and what was expected out of me, there was lot of gap. Okay, coming to a next point that I would like to understand from you, from your experience, where you have seen a multiple intelligence being demonstrated by that child. So in that case, do you agree that it's an inborn talent, or is it because of social interaction, or it is because of right coaches? Whom do you attribute the demonstration of multiple intelligence in a kid?
See, wonderful question. This is very important because the social interaction aspect, what you're asking for, is, when the school where I was working, children had learnt stories. The teachers used to narrate stories, Ramayana and Mahabharata from the original text. That is Valmiki Ramayana and Mahabharata written by Vedavyasa, the original text. Children had written, they knew all the stories. But how do you assess? How do you make them present? So they were asked to present it in a play form or skit form. And they grouped. They said, I'll be this, I'll be that. And whatever the limited materials that they had, there was a tree, dry trunk twigs. They pulled out and they said these are arrows, and this kind they started creating their own with whatever the dupattas and they dressed themselves and they presented the skit. So they started interacting what kind of dialogues that they want to create. And the next part is I also said you have learned so much in the regional language, the stories are narrated. Why don't you try writing them? You create your own Ramayana book beautifully. That too, those interleaved books, one side unruled and the other side ruled books. I said, if you can draw one side, whatever you have written, write the story. And then what is the drawing that you would create for that? They sat and they did in group. They said, your drawing is not so, can you draw it for me? They would get the drawing done from other children. So, like that, the collaboration and doing together, complementing each other, because they say, yeah, you're so good at drawing. Children start appreciating, hey, you speak very well. Your language is very good. Your vocabulary is very good. And you're very helpful. The person, the child who is very bodily kinesthetic goes round and runs and gets all, supports the team. They do the background, backstage work, and they are helping and mutually appreciating. So next time they know if they want something, they approach that child who goes and fetch the materials and bring it for them. And you're good at writing, no? Can you write it for me? The story, so that I will present. So that mutual help, it is not like that school kind assessment and assignment kind. It is a group activity. That's how they were collaborating, and the teamwork used to happen. They would recognize and appreciate the intelligence of other, and they would complement each other, helping. So this is very important, because when, if you really have to see the intelligence of a child, put them into the group, give them a group task, then you know what is their core intelligence. The next is understanding the difference. It is recognizing and appreciating the diverse intelligence. If the child is good at singing, this has happened. I don't want to take the names of children, so I am just giving it in a form of a context. The child is good at singing and not good at math, or not good at languages. What is the use of the singing? Come, sit and write, do math. Your language is bad, do it. So these kind of comments will not help. You see, you are so good at music. I think bring in the math element into that. It's not difficult. Only thing is because we are not tuned to that, and we as as educators, that approach is not given. That method, neither many schools, they are not looking at that. They are only marks oriented. They want scores, they want good results, and they want 98%, 99%, 100% kind. So for which these areas are untouched, or even if it is touched for the sake of showing that we have this also, we cater to this also, these kind of things goes on. But recognizing and appreciating the diverse intelligence can help them to grow beyond. And these children are complementing, and they see empathy. If the child, somebody is not good at writing a drawing, say, you don't know drawing, no, I'll do it for you. They help. They understand what the strength of their peers also when they are put into the group. So this is how it will influence them in their social interactions.
Basically, link the liking of a child to something that is like the music, which is liking of a child. Mathematics, when linked to music, so then both of the subject would soon fall in that liking category.
Yes, definitely.
But taking this conversation little forward, so this example, like this music has been the strength of that particular child. So what a parent or educator can do that will encourage child to explore other areas or other intelligence while staying true to their core intelligence, which would be definitely music here?
Actually speaking, it is not like only one intelligence which will be predominant. Two to three will be there. Maybe the variation, like, if I told in the beginning, the assessment sheets are there. At least to just have a look at it. It's not that the child is only good at music. The child might be good at, interacting with others. Interpersonal relationship might be very good. Or if the child is very good at music, maybe good at language or something. Identify two, three intelligence which are close by, near to that. And based on that, if it is tried to connect. See, for example, mm, if I chant shlokas and I teach children and I do recordings also related to Bhagavad Gita, one shloka every day. So in the chanting, the child is good at chanting, but you bring in the element of, understanding the word, what are the different vocabularies that are there, how it is musically created. Or, if I take a Sanskrit as an example, maybe it will be too much to comprehend or something. If you look at any song or any poem that the child sings, the child might be good at singing the poem, but not good at the language. In the poem, you ask for the rhyming words, and I ask the child to identify what are the words that are related to nature. The child may give those words, and then ask the child to create some simple sentences using that. Say it orally. Or with these words, pick and you create some poem. Maybe the child is orally good at, maybe able to create. So some activities which are totally new to the concept, uh, if that is brought in, children will definitely pick up. See, if the child is very good at mathematics, you ask them to, and the child is not mathematical, I mean, naturalistic, doesn't want to go into nature or whatever, always into, doing. You ask the child to go and count or identify the different types of trees that are there, and have a, a record. What is that? I'm not getting the word. They make this pie chart or bar charts, uh, make a tally of it or make a survey of it, so that they get into the nature, they observe the nature, what are the different types of trees that are there, how big they have grown, and what kind of birds are there. So you are connecting the mathematical aspect of the counting and multiplying. They can go around and check in their streets or in the area, in the locality that they are living. So this will help them to become close to the nature. So it should complement whatever they have the strength. Complement, because most of the parents, they say, my son doesn't go out at all. My daughter never wants to go out. Give them such activities which will help. When I was teaching during the COVID time, children are sitting in front of the screen. How do you make them to get into nature? Because they can only the place that they can move around is within their constructed area, house, nothing beyond. Or if there is some plots which are empty around. So what I would do is I would hold my mobile and go and show them the different types of plants that are near me and the different colors. Observe the different types of leaves. Whether there you have different names for the types of leaf: compound leaf, simple leaf, palmate, all these kind of leaves. So make them observe that and ask them to grow in the pot with some seeds and some things like that. And I said, you can grow them and you keep it as a market in front of your gate. If somebody wants to buy, anyway, they need all these groceries and, vegetables, you can sell them. In fact, some children tried that. They started growing coriander, they started growing methi, all this. So this was a different experience, and negotiating for money and things like that also made them work on it. So That is how, whatever they have learned. Otherwise, you would say that draw a plant, all the parts, color them, label them, and that's the end. Now, if they have to grow, at least they become more bodily kinesthetic. There is some physical activity that happens for them. And also ask them to create a poem, story, record them, share it in the group. So these kind of activities will definitely bring in some balance and guidance based on their strength. Identify. That's the only mantra. Identify their strength and recognize, encourage them. If when you motivate that this you are doing at ease, that is also very easy for you. You will be able to learn math very easily, or you will be able to learn language very easily. You are excellent. You keep motivating and saying, talking more about the intelligence, what they already have, and then talk about the other aspects, what they can pick up. So that will help. And having a open communication with the children will help. It is every day talking for at least 10 to 15 minutes about allowing the child to express whatever he or she has within, went out somewhere. That is the time where we get to know what is happening with them, what kind of emotions are coming out, what kind of feelings that they have, and what is their core that they enjoy. So that is more important, I feel. More than exploring and all that, open communication will definitely help, and motivation.
Thank you so much, Veena, for all the sharings that you did today. I really enjoyed this talk. Multiple
Thank you.
intelligence, something that I never knew that there are so many types of intelligence that any human being can cultivate in their lifespan. And it would definitely impact the quality of life that they would live over the period of their life on the earth. Thank you so much for sharing and thank you for coming for today's session.
Thank you so much. It's a privilege. Thank you.